Trust me, when I started dueling in the underground, I felt the same way. But then, I discovered the pleasure of pain. Duels aren't all fun and games. They hurt!
What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing you the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. And now this deck is a deck that I really love personally. Now, this is Cyber Dragon Orchest. I'm not gonna, drag it out any longer. This is Cyber Dragon Orchest. And the last time this deck was playable was in 2019. And the reason this is such a important deck for me specifically is this is my very first competitive deck for Yu-Gi-Oh! Period. This is the first deck that I built in terms of being competitive in the metagame. And at the time, Cyber Dragon Orchest was very competitive in the metagame when Nightmare Mermaid was legal and after Dingirsu was released. And that was primarily because Dingirsu has 2100 defense and it worked really well with the Cyber Dragon stuff because at that time, Orchest didn't have a dedicated normal summon. But with the new Cyber Dragon support, I thought I wanted to take a look at the deck once more. So today I am bringing to you Cyber Dragon Orchest. Now, before I get started with the video, I do want to explain my thought process about why I decided to include Orchest and Cyber Dragon now in 2025. And that's because of this new card right here, Simon Jormungandr. It is a level 5 machine light. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by a card effect. If your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, then take a Cyber Dragon from your deck and either special or equip it to this card, and then we're machine locked for the rest of the turn. We can bounce a Cyber Dragon we control to the hand to add a poly from our deck or graveyard to our hand, and each effect of Cyber Jormungandr is a once per turn. Now, why are we playing this, and why is Orchest in here? It's because Girsu gives our opponent a token. So, the idea of this strategy is when we're going first, which is notoriously an issue for Cyber Dragon, because most of the cards require your opponent to have a monster, the OG Cyber Dragon, Jormungandr, and then all the other Cyber Dragon cards are either focused around OTKing, or there's one card that's focused on setting up going first. So we want our opponents to have monsters as much as possible, so Girsu the Orchest Mech Knight can accomplish that, as well as being full Orchest combo all by itself. Now, how are we getting Girsu? Small World's there for a reason. We're on triple copies of Girsu and triple copies of Small World to try and maximize our chances of finding Girsu in every opening hand. Every single one of our Cyber Dragons and every single one of our hand traps can be used in order to grab a Girsu from our deck to our hand, so the benefit is right there. But that's enough yapping about the overall deck profile. Let's go through the card by card and let me show you a couple cool combos that you are able to do with this deck. Starting off our list, we're on triple copies of Cyber Dragon Core. On normal summon, we can add a Cyber Spell Trap from our deck to our hand. If only our opponent controls a monster, we can banish this card from our graveyard to special summon a Cyber Dragon monster from our deck, but we can lose one of these effects per turn and only once that turn. Its name also becomes Cyber Dragon while in the field or in the graveyard, but you should get used to that effect because most of the Cyber Dragon stuff will be doing that. We're also on double copies of Cyber Dark Worm. It becomes Cyber Dragon on field and graveyard. If this card's in our hand or a graveyard, and we have a Machine Cyber monster in our field or our graveyard, we can send one Cyber Dragon monster from our hand or our deck to the graveyard to special summon this card. Then we can add a Cyber Spell or Trap from our graveyard back to our hand, and that is a once per duel effect. Now, the once per duel is incredibly limiting on this card. However, it is just an incredibly powerful card. It dumps a card and it special summons itself. And if we have a Cyber Spell or Trap in our graveyard, we can add that card right back to our hand. Now, realistically, we're only really going to have one Cyber Spell or Trap in our graveyard, being Cyber Emergency, although being able to add that card back isn't necessarily that bad at all. We're also on the previously mentioned Cyber Jormungandr, double copies of the OG Cyber Dragon, one copy of Cyber Dragon Hurts. If it's special summoned, we can make its level 5 until the end of the turn, and then we're locked into machines. Or if this card is sent to the graveyard, we can add one other Cyber Dragon from our deck or graveyard to our hand. And we can only use one of these effects per turn and only once that turn. Its name, again, also becomes Cyber Dragon on the field and the graveyard. And then lastly, for our Cyber Dragons, we're on one copy of Cyber Dragon Nostra. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon on the field or in the graveyard. You can discard one other monster to special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, we can target a machine monster with 2100 attack or defense in our graveyard, including the Girsu, to special summon it, and then we're locked from special summoning monsters the rest of the turn, except for machines. Again, all these locks, all these machine locks, don't really hurt us all too much. We're only playing 2 cards in our extra deck that are not machines, and of course that's IP and SP for our Orchest cards. But we don't have to go into those. We can rely on Orchest Babel and Orchest Crescendo without really having to lean on the IPSP aspect of Orcust. And then we're also on the triple small world I mentioned previously, triple copies of Cyber Emergency, which is just Rhoda for the strategy for the most part, allowing us to add a light machine monster that cannot be normal summoned or set, or a Cyber Dragon monster from our deck to our hand. And if this activation is negated, we're able to discard a card in order to add this card back to our hand from the graveyard in order to retry it again, because if the activation was negated, we are able to attempt to activate it once more. We're also on triple copies of Cyber Dark Realm on activation, allowing us to add a Cyber Dark monster from our deck to our hand with a different name from the cards in our graveyard. And then during the main phase, we can immediately, after this effect resolves, normal summon the Cyber Dark monster. We can use the previous effect of Realm once per turn. If we equip a monster to the graveyard by the effect of a Cyber Dark monster, blah blah blah, we're never really going to be doing that because we're not playing Cyber Dark, because that strategy, in my opinion, sucks. But the thing is, this is just Rhoda for our Cyber Dark Worm, because Cyber Emergency actually cannot grab it because it is not a light machine monster, nor is it actually Cyber Dragon in the deck. It is a Cyber Dark Worm in the deck, so we're not able to add it to Cyber Emergency, so this is also just Rhoda for our Worm. It's also Rhoda for this next card being Cyber Dark Chimera. We're drawing one copy of, allowing us to pitch a spell or trap to add a power bond from our deck to our hand. We can only use Dragon or Machine Cyber monsters as fusion material this turn. Also, when you fusion summon this turn, you can banish monsters from our graveyard as material. If this card is sent to the graveyard, we can send a Cyber Dark monster from our deck to the graveyard with a different name from all the cards in our graveyard. We use each effect of Chimera once per turn. Incredibly fantastic effect, being able to dump our worm, which can then special summon itself from our graveyard if we have a Cyber Dragon in our graveyard, as well as being able to grab a Power Bond, which is our next card, and basically turning it into an Overload fusion, which, given our target for this card, is incredible. For our non-engine, we're also on double copies of Droplet, one copy of Foolish Burial, and one copy of Call by the Grave for Hand-Trap Mitigation. For our Orcust cards, we're on triple copies of Gearsuit, double copies of Harp Horror, because we do not really want to be drawing it in our hand. We don't have a clean way of getting rid of it except for Noxter. One copy of Orcust Symbol Skeleton, one Nightmare, and one World Legacy World 1, as well as a copy of Babel and a copy of Orcust Crescendo. For our hand traps, we're on triple Ash, triple Droll, and triple Veiler, but these can realistically be whatever you'd really like. That's it for our main deck. Now let's cover our extra. For our Orcust cards, we're on double Galatea, one Long Gearsuit, and one Ding Gearsuit, as well as an IP and SP if you want to consider those Orcust cards. And then for our other cards, we're on one copy of Clockwork Knight. It's just a Link 1, and in our sideboard plan, we are playing Clockwork Knight because it is incredibly powerful in Cyber Dragon specifically. And Clockwork Knight can search it by sending our Cyber Dark Realm from our field to the graveyard, and again, Realm is searchable with Cyber Dragon Core. We're also on one copy of Cyber Dragon Seeger. This is here for OTK lines with our Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, as well as just making our Cyber Dragons big as heck in order to run over big bungus boss monsters. We're on one copy of Cyber Dragon Nova. This card is reborn. It can buff itself as well, and it also is Cyber Dragon Infinity, which is a negate and a suck, which is fantastic. We're also on Chronomaly Vimana, which is also just another monster negate on top of Cyber Dragon Infinity. We can only summon Cyber Dragon Infinity once per turn and play the method of just slapping it on top of Nova. So by playing Vimana, we are able to make two interruptions, even if we have the ability to make two infinities, and we just can't because of game mechanics. For our fusions, we're on one copy of Vrog, the Mechanical Dawn. I hope I said that right. It needs two light machine monsters. If this card's fusion summon, we can activate this effect during the standby phase of the next turn. Add one card from our graveyard to our hand, which with an effect that fusion summons a monster. When your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or effect, quick effect, we can banish one light machine that we control or two light machines from our graveyard. Negate activation, and we can each effect of this card once per turn. Incredibly powerful effect. It works really well with Power Bond because we lose life points equal to the attack that was gained from this effect. But this is a zero attack monster, so we are not losing in time if we're summoning this turn 1, as well as it'll add the Power Bond right back to our hand. So this is a spell negate, we have a monster negate, and we have an Omni negate, all within just the Cyber Dragon cards in our stack, not even considering our Orcust cards. We're on one copy of Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. This is a contact fusion that we can use either field as material, as it just needs Cyber Dragon and any amount of machine monsters. This is why Clockwork Knight is incredibly powerful in this strategy. Any Cyber Dragon monster plus Clockwork Knight means we can eat our opponent's entire board without any questions. It doesn't matter if a card is I guess it does actually matter if a card's unaffected. It doesn't matter if the card that is unaffected is also a machine monster, or if Clockwork Knight was previously on field at point of summoning. We're on one copy of Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon, very similar to Fortress Dragon. It needs a Cyber Dragon and it's a Contact Fusion, except instead of machines, it'll use the monster, the EMZ, meaning we can eat up our opponent's EMZ monster if they're not playing around this. And then our last card in our extra deck is one copy of Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. It's a Dark Cyber Dragon, or not necessarily a Cyber Dragon, I guess. It needs 2+ Cyber Dragon monsters. A fusion summon of this card can only be done with the above fusion material. When this card is fusion summoned, we can target spells and traps on the field up to the number of materials used for its fusion summon, destroy them, and then once per turn, this is the ignition effect. You can send up to 2 light machines from our deck to the graveyard. That is, and if you do each monster sent to the for each monster sent to this graveyard, this card will gain 1 additional attack during each battle phase this turn, allowing for very cheeky OTKs with Power Bond and our Seeker. If we go Power Bond into this card, it's going to be at 4,200 attack. If we use the effect, it can get 3 attacks. If we use Seeger, it will buff it up by 2,100 more attack, putting it up to 6,300 attack. And if you have a 6,300 attack monster that can attack 3 times and you're not winning the game, something is wrong. In our side deck, these are just random cards that we could be playing. Triple copies of Thrust, 1 copy of Talents, 1 copy of Cybernetic Overflow, the Cyber Dragon Spell Trap. It's a non-targeting pop and it floats if our opponent removes it, which is very fantastic. It'll just pops things up to a number of different leveled Cyber Dragons that we banish from our hand, face of field, and graveyard. And we're on also 1 copy of D-Barrier. For other hand traps, we're on double Nibiru, triple Fualos, double copies of Clockwork Knight, and 1 copy of Volcasaurus for time, because this deck can make it if we're not locked into machines early on. And it just allows us to target a phase that monster our opponent controls, destroy it, and if we do, inflict damage equal to the destroyed monster's original attack, which can be relevant for time purposes. But that's going to be about it for the overall deck profile. Now I got 2 different combos I want to be showing to you. One's a 2-card combo and one's a 3-card combo. Of course, the 2-card combo is more realistic in order for you to be able to do it in terms of actual gameplay. But the 3-card combo I think is really, really sick, so I wanted to show that one off as well. So let's look at those now. Alright, here we are in our little test, hand test thing. We have 1 copy of Gearsu and a copy of Cyber Emergency, and I'm going to just walk you through this combo. First off, we're going to normal summon our Gearsu. We're going to go Gearsu effect in order to dump a Harpour. We're not going to be activating this now. This is going to be used a lot later in the combo. We're just dumping it now in order to get the Gearsu effect. Then we're going to use Gearsu Ignition effect to make a token for us and a token for our opponent. Then we're going to go Cyber Emergency, adding Jormungandr from deck to hand. Since our opponent controls a monster, we can special summon Jormungandr, and then we can special summon the Cyber Dragon from deck. Then we're going to be able to go into Onova, and that's summon number 5 on Infinity, which is just, number 5 on Nova, which is just fantastic, because if Nova gets removed by our opponent, we're going to be able to special summon a Machine Fusion from our extra deck for free, which means even if they do Nibiru us here, we're going to be able to grab this Spell Negate from our extra deck, which is just fantastic, as just a little bit of a recomp from our opponent Nibiruing us at this junction point. If they don't, of course, we can just immediately make an Infinity on summon number 6. And if they do Nibiru us, we have a Harpour in graveyard. Like, we're Bing chilling. Like, you know, we don't really care too much. We lose our Infinity, we get a Spell Negate instead. So we lose an Omni, get a Spell Negate, we get a token, and then we can keep playing with our Orcus cards. But from this junction here, we're going to go token into Clockwork Knight just to make it an effect monster. Then we're going to go into a Galatea. We're going to go Harpour effect to get a Nightmare from our deck. We're then going to go Galatea effect in order to put that Harpour back in order to get a Babel from our deck to our field. We're then going to activate that Babel. Then we're going to link off Galatea and Nightmare for a long Gearsu. We're going to go Nightmare effect, sending a World 1 to our graveyard, targeting long Gearsu. Then we're going to go World 1 to bring back out our Nightmare. Then we're going to be able to go Lung Gearsu into a Ding Gearsu to reattach that World 1. And then we're going to use Ding and our Nightmare to go into another copy of Galatea, setting up our graveyard with Ding Gearsu, World 1, and Nightmare. So we're going to be able to, at the start of our opponent's turn, go Nightmare send a Symbol Skeleton at any point during our opponent's turn to bring back the Ding Gearsu, and either have a protection effect online or be able to non-target send a card our opponent controls to the graveyard. We're also going to be able to use our Galatea at the end of our opponent's turn in order to set an Orcus Crescendo from our deck to our field. So during our turn, if we manage to maintain an Orcus Link monster, we're going to have a counter trap at all points during our turn. But that's going to be about it for that combo. It's a little bit underwhelming, at least in terms of what's actually displayed on the board, but I believe it is plenty of interactions for 2 individual cards as well as follow-up. Now, let's talk about our 3-card combo now. Alrighty, here we are with our 3-card combo. You'll see it's the exact same 2 cards as our 2-card combo, as well as a copy of Cyberdark Realm, although this could also be a copy of the new Cyberdark monster. It doesn't really matter. And Cyber Emergency could also be a copy of Cyber Jormungandr. So we do also have multiple different ways of acquiring this combo with different cards. We don't have to use these cards in order to search them, although, because it does play into Droll. So if you just open them, it is pretty decent. So let's see what we're able to accomplish this set of cards. We're going to go Cyber Emergency here to grab a Jormungandr. Then we're going to be able to go normal summon Girsu, go Girsu effect to dump a Harpor. Then we're going to go Cyberdark Realm in order to grab a Cyberdark Worm from our deck to our hand. Then we're going to be able to do the ignition effect of Girsu to give our opponent a token and give us a token. Then we're going to go Jormungandr in order to summon itself and summon a Cyber Dragon from our deck. And here we can use our Cyberdark Worm to establish another copy of Cyber Dragon in our graveyard, so we're able to actually do something with our Cyber Dragon Nova. We're going to go this in order to send a Hertz to the graveyard, special summoning our Worm, and re-adding back our Cyber Emergency from the graveyard. Our Hertz is going to trigger a new chain, being able to add a normal Cyber Dragon from our deck to our hand. And then from here, we're going to be able to go those 2 into a Nova, go Nova effect, detach Cyber Dragon, and bring back Cyber Dragon. And then here, we're going to be able to go those 2 into a Chronomaly Vimana, now we have a monster negate. And then we're going to be able to go Nova into Infinity. Now we have 2 negates. 2 monster negates or 1 monster negate and an Omni negate. From here, we're going to be able to go to Clockwork Knight. Then here we could also grab the actual Clockwork Knight as well if we were playing it, which can screw over a couple strategies that do have to have a specific type of monsters on field, not necessarily machines. We're going to be able to go Clockwork Knight and Girsu into a Galatea, and here we are going to do a little bit of a different combo. We're not going to be going for Babel this time in order to set up Dingirsu. We're still going to end on a Dingirsu, but we're not going to have it being brought back during our opponent's turn. We're going to have it on field in order to protect our field. We're going to go Harpor to grab a Nightmare. Then we're going to go Orcus Galatea to set a Crescendo from our deck to our field. We're going to go those 2 into a Long Girsu, so our Crescendo is online, and our Long Girsu is protected by itself because it is pointed to Infinity and the token, so it can't be destroyed by card effects. And we have the Omni, and we have then we have the Counter Trap, we have an Omni and a Monster Negate. And then we're going to go Nightmare, target Long, send Symbol. Symbol effect, target Galatea to bring it back. And then go Dingirsu, special summon on Galatea. Dingirsu effect to reattach our Symbol Skeleton, and that's going to be the end of our turn. Now here, our Dingirsu is going to have 2 protections online, so if a card we control would be destroyed by battle or a card effect, we'd be able to detach a Macho from Dingirsu instead, and we can do that twice. Our Long Girsu is protecting itself from card effect. We have an Infinity Negate, a Chronomaly Negate, and a Counter Trap Negate. So, in my opinion, I think this is a pretty damn good board. Of course, we did use 3 cards in order to make this board, but we do have more than 3 interaction points. As well as if this board gets outed, we're going to have a Symbol Skeleton in graveyard, a Orcust in graveyard, as well as our Crescendo in graveyard. So we're going to be able to add all this stuff back, keep going on our next turn, as well as we have a copy of Cyber Dragon that we searched throughout the course of this combo. And if we did start with Cyber Emergency, we do have that as well in order to grab a core if we would like. But that's going to be about the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are. Thank you, Ari, my 1 member. If you want to become a member, please stay tuned to the end of all my videos where I go through all the benefits there. But again, thank you all so much for watching, if you still are, and I will be seeing you all later. Bye-bye! Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel.
where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or two before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.